There we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Americans and world citizens. Welcome to the weekly live stream broadcast of We Are J6. Thank you so much for continuing to visit, register, and support at wearej6.com. And thanks for joining us today. As always, we're very excited to have you guys. And we're just grateful and excited to be continually committed to this fight for restorative justice. A lot of important conversations about what that is, what that means, and how we might pursue that are happening each week on this live stream with some really awesome panelists every week. So we're excited to dig into that with some stories. And of course, we're going to debut a brand new persecution testimonial video, which you can see on the screen now, that we're quite excited about as well. So we're going to launch off with a prayer, as we always do. Let me just invite our panelists to the screen here. And that should be everybody. Do we have audio and visuals from everyone? Looking good?
Yes, from Mark, yes.
Amazing. And we are very excited to be joined today as well by the Noble One.
How's it going, guys?
It's amazing, Enrique. I really appreciate you finding the time to jump on as well. And good timing. We had a little tech delay on the start of the stream, but we're here. And we have always started with a prayer to acknowledge the existence and reality of Almighty God and that He is the foundation of this nation. So we're going to do that, and then we'll get started. Heavenly Father, we come to you in humility. We come to you just in honest and true recognition of our need, God, our need of you and our need of your providence, your wisdom, your blessing, your power. In our lives as individuals, but certainly in our nation at this time. It is a critical moment. There are a lot of important things happening. There are a lot of difficult things happening. And there are a lot of people that we're aware of that are still hurting and experiencing incredible trauma and damage, of course, related to the events of January 6th and just the totality of what's been happening in our nation for many decades. So, Father God, we come to you in that spirit of humility and unity, acknowledging that you are God, that this is one nation under God, that is our foundational commitment and promise. And we just want to return to that and thank you, God, for your goodness, your grace, your mercy. We really do pray, God, that you would shower mercy and protection and healing on the J6ers who are still in a lot of pain. And so we ask you for that, God. And we also ask your blessing on each person that has spent their time to share with us on the panel today. Fortify and bless and strengthen and give victory to these warriors, to these patriots. Thank you for each one of them. And it's in our Heavenly Father's name that we ask this blessing and commit this time to you. Amen.
Amen.
So,
thank you, John.
Absolutely. I'm truly grateful and excited for every one of you guys to be here and that you're just in the fight, that you're committed to the foundation of America. And of course, specifically to this concept of restorative justice for J6. Just to remind everyone on the stream now, of course, please help support this movement right now. If you retweet the stream, that of course helps and invite people to watch and participate. Our general call to action is just to continue to support the website, wearej6.com. Register there, share it, retweet the social, support the movement. But this really is about information warfare. This is really about education and advocacy. And this is really about coming together as Americans and committing to restorative justice, which, among other things, really involves a full commitment to a truthful investigation of what happened, why it happened, and what the consequences were and still are. So we're in pursuit of those things. Dr. Gold, you can jump in at whatever time you want from a legal perspective. Enrique, I just want to offer the stage first to you, just depending on what your time frame is, but I'm really grateful to have you on. And I've not had a chance to talk with you myself directly, that I recall at least, but of course we've both been very engaged and very visible in the January 6th event and topic. And so I'm excited for our paths to cross, and I think they will again. But would you just kind of share with the audience, first of all, I think maybe a bit of a summary about who you are and what J6 is for you in your life. And then as well as maybe your thoughts on where we stand right now as a nation and as a J6 community in terms of pursuing restorative justice and so forth.
Well, John, first, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Mark, how's it going? Doctor, and Chris, fellow J6er there. Really appreciate you guys for doing this. We are J6, and I think that's been the headlines for the past 2 months, and that's something that I'm truly passionate about, because I will tell you that I think the most pressing issue that we had in America during the Biden presidency was liberty, right? It was the key
Yes.
problem for a lot of us. And I made a post the other day, and I don't die on every hill or issue, but except one. You know, there is no compromise when it comes to justice for J6. It isn't about me. It's about 1,600 of us,
Right.
including all of our families, because I'd say, and I think a lot of people would agree, we didn't suffer as much as our families did. They tortured a lot of us. They tried to put us in a concrete coffin for a very long time. And our families were the ones that actually went through it more than we did. So when we talk about justice, I use the word a lot, retribution and retaliation. And what I mean by that is accountability. And that's what's needed when it comes to real, true justice for J6.
Yes.
Right? The people that did this to us, the people that made our families suffer, those people need to pay. And by pay, I mean they need to be investigated. And if they're investigated, I believe that they need to be prosecuted. And if they're prosecuted, they need to be penalized by the full force of the law. We can't be the nice guys and be like, okay, you know, let's clean our hands, let's start fresh. It's not about starting fresh, because if we let them do it now, they're going to do it again. We don't know what 2028 holds. I think the president has done amazing things in the past 3 months that he's been president, but he won't be president forever.
Right.
So getting this justice is the future of America. The weaponized justice system is what'll make America a fascist country, or democracy's at risk. All these words that the progressives use,
right,
is about one thing. It's about liberty. It's about being able to say what you want, and not be put in prison for it, because that's what mostly happened on January 6th. And we've taken steps ourselves, and when I say ourselves, us five and a lot of other J6ers, and we are going to go on the offense. In the next couple of weeks, we ran into some hiccups, but we will be announcing our lawsuit towards the Department of Justice here soon. And by announcing, I mean we will be filing in the Southern District of Florida, and I know a lot of J6ers are on the same path. So the path to accountability starts with the offense.
Yes. Excellent summary, Enrique. I definitely agree with everything you said. I love the point you made about the impact on families. I think that's really important, and it connects to one of the main purposes of We Are J6, which is to extend a hand and outreach to the entire community of J6 patriots, as we call them here, former defendants and now exonerated J6 patriots, but to reach out to all those folks and their families and their communities around them, bring them together, and to foster an environment where we can be honest, supportive, and relentless in our commitment to those investigations and to the education of the general public about who we are and what happened to us. Because as you said, a fresh start is a disingenuous excuse for not putting in the work necessary to uphold the rule of law equally, which of course was the problem in the last term, as you so accurately noted. Dr. Gold, I feel like you have something you want to contribute. Please jump in.
Yes. First of all, am I audible?
Yeah, you sound great, actually.
Okay, great. First of all, I want to apologize to everybody because the delay today was my fault. Where I'm traveling and I didn't have a good tech setup in advance. So thank you. And Enrique, I have watched you and I've never met you, and you're pretty fierce.
Thank
And
you,
I'm looking
doctor.
forward to hearing for sure. And I'm looking forward to. And by the way, what you said is true because I happen to be the only person I think there because I was speaking on medical freedom. It's like I wasn't even speaking about the election. I mean, so there you go, another example of just silencing speech. Um, I just want to share maybe with Enrique and Mark, just because I haven't met either of you before, but the whole purpose of wearej6.com, this strategic alliance, is really to empower all J6ers. There isn't, we welcome all J6ers. We do two things. We want to bring the stories to light. So we invite all J6ers to send us their videos. If you have signed up at We Are J6, you have gotten instructions on how to do that. And at the end of every live stream, we do show one of those videos, and they're really heart wrenching. And we know this is the way to change the public perception out there. And we also know it's the way to help the people we eventually negotiate against to do a better job of whatever, as Enrique calls it, as I call it, restitution. And the reason I kind of wanted to jump in now is I know people have questions about the legal. So and I'll do my best to be as specific, but I can't be completely specific, and I apologize because you just have to go a little bit on trust, and I hope I've earned that with people over the last 5 years. I think the way this is all going to shake out is that there will be more than one legal
Effort.
fight
Yeah.
effort by different J6ers. And I see that as a good thing. I see that as a good thing that, Enrique's saying he's got his case in Southern Florida. Wow, that's very good. I've always wanted to have in different jurisdictions. There will be other people who choose other lawyers. And then there will be eventually what I think is going to happen is that certain lawyers are going to get together who are representing various J6ers, and the goal is for them to sit down and talk to an administration and a settlement. I mean, that to me is I don't want to say the ideal path because there's more than one way to success, but I kind of see that coming. So somebody had dropped in a question in the chat, like, what about such and such lawyer? No one should be precluded from choosing one legal team or another legal team. I can only share with you the research that I find as I find it. A couple of weeks ago, I recommended a group with Peter Tickton. I am still on that page. I have a lot of faith in Peter Tickton, but there's also other lawyers and there's also other options. And I am so sorry that I just don't feel like I could be as specific today as I want to be, but I'm very, very encouraged by some conversations I've heard a little bit behind the scenes.
And I've participated in some of those
Yes.
discussions as well, Dr. Gold. And I definitely think that progress is being made. And I think that progress is consistent with the outlook that we have been discussing on wearej6.com for many weeks now, which is understanding the importance of unification and solidarity. Of course, along with what you said, that there are multiple efforts and multiple angles, and that's a good thing, certainly is. But at the same time, tremendous value and tremendous importance to unification and collecting the larger body of J6ers together, not just legally, of course, it's for many reasons, but to the consideration of legal options or angles. A large consolidation is going to be very, very helpful for all the various lawyers that are working on this, and particularly to those negotiation discussions with the administration, because our perspective, and Enrique, jump in and correct me or qualify where you think you have a different perspective. But I agree with what you said, that consequences are necessary. Accountability is absolutely necessary. What we say at wearej6.com is that we are resolved to deliver restorative justice through victim recovery and government accountability. That is our mission. So it comprehensively addresses that. But as a part of government accountability, we currently have a strong America First principled president and executive branch administration. So we are aligned with the values of that administration, and our values are the reason we believe, as Enrique mentioned, restorative justice is essential. It is not optional. It is absolutely necessary to the proper functioning and advancement of this republic. And we believe the Trump administration sees this the same way. So we really want to marshal efforts in a productive and conducive way. And that's part of what's going on. So Dr. Gold, you can continue. I just wanted to say that, Peter Tickton and various other lawyers, they are continuing the work behind the scenes in terms of very important conversations. And eventually there'll be negotiations, but it's a communication effort to align the needs and priorities, and also whatever the most productive steps are to get there.
Yeah, and I'll just be really quick, because I hate when I can't share everything like off the top with people. It's just like my nature. But if you can just give us another week. The thing is, we're talking behind the scenes to all these people, and various subjects keep coming up, and one of them is that multiple lawsuits or multiple groups, on the one hand, gives a lot of strength. On the other hand, we do want to present one final collective. And I know that sounds contradictory, but what I mean is, like, I think it's good that Enrique might bring his own lawsuit, or is bringing his own lawsuit, because he has a particular situation.
Right.
But I think the majority of J6ers should come together, because that's going to give that group of lawyers amazing negotiating power.
Right.
And so they'll help each other. And I just can't say 100% of what I want to say, what I hope to be able to say next week. And I just ask people's patience with me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And certainly it is an ongoing process. So it's not typically something where all of it is figured out or announced or solved in any given day or week or moment. We do see this as pressing and time sensitive. We've been talking about this a lot. We definitely are targeting that this entire thing needs to be executed and accomplished and successful prior to 2026.
And
so our view
yeah,
of
and I
this
just,
is something
yeah.
that happens next year. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. And I should have said, one of the things, the reason this is complicated is and with John helping too, I'm trying to solve kind of all the problems that people might have, so that people don't actually have to think about it and take it on themselves. Like Enrique is taking it on himself, but a lot of people really don't want to take on this battle by themselves. They just want to get the best possible result. So there's a lot of talking behind the scenes about how that's going to look between each J6er and the J6ers and the lawyers. Like I want to get those as wrapped as possible for the majority or the large portion of people, and it's just taking a little bit longer. Thank you.
No problem.
I am finished.
And Captain Cooney and Enrique, please jump in at any point when you have thoughts. I just wanted to invite Mark, if he is, yeah, he's there.
Yep.
Mark, we are really happy to have you here. We're just grateful and proud of the fight that you and your wife Jalise have put up over the years, where you've done a lot of work and put on a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to support J6ers overall and be in this fight, even prior to the point at which you were caught up in the jaws of a weaponized DOJ. So would you just kind of share like a brief summary of kind of who you are and what you've been through over the course of that journey, along with more recently how you've dealt with getting in the jaws, being in prison, and then of course being released with President Trump's pardons?
So for those that don't know, Jalise and I, we were picked up April 21 of 21, and we spent a lot of time solace, trying to figure out what to do next. But God put on our hearts to help all the other J6ers, and that's why we formed American Patriot Relief. And we spent the next several years supporting all the other January 6th defendants. And Jalise and I were so passionate about what we were doing, to our own demise, that we wrote ourselves out from receiving any money. So all the money that came in, none of it, even today, none of it comes to me and Jalise. And we were probably the first two and maybe the only two J6 defendants, at least early on, to ignore the warnings of your lawyers, of everybody else, and started speaking out and screaming from the rooftops about what was going on. We did that for 3.5 years. John,
Yep.
Thank you for all of the attention you drew to our trial and to our sentencing. I appreciate that deeply. You have
Absolutely.
no idea how much. But it amazingly, we scared the DOJ. They didn't bring up anything about all of our hundreds of podcasts, hundreds of in-person speaking events that we did, hundreds of, just everything that we did over the last 3.5 years. They did not bring up any of it in trial. They were scared.
That's impressive.
The truth would have gotten out, and they didn't want those those live streams and stuff of being presented in court evidence. They did a little bit in our sentencing, and it backfired on them every time they tried to bring it up, which was great. But in the end, Jaleesa and I did go to prison for 34 days. We were originally found guilty on all 9 federal charges, 4 of them being felonies, 1 of them the 1512.
Right.
2 of the others were the 111As for assaulting federal police officers, because how dare us allow them to strike us from behind with batons while we were praying. So anyway, we're out now.
Just to reemphasize that point while we're here, Mark, you and your wife and other patriots, I believe, in a grassy area on the grounds, like not that close to the building, but somewhere in the Capitol area.
We were all the way up to the police barricade on the west side.
Okay.
So yeah, we never crossed a barricade. We weren't even touching the barricade originally until they grabbed us and pulled us into it. But yeah, our videos are all over stophate.com. Our actual full videos. I threw all of our discovery over to David, and they put it up on there. So it's kind of another slap at the DOJ, testing them, trying to get them to come after us even more, and they haven't.
People can see for themselves, right? What happened?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And a very famous lawyer, I will not mention this individual's name, but put together a montage for us, which was also illegal because we, all the video evidence was classified. But we gave this person all the video evidence. They had their crew put a montage together, and the DOJ would not allow it to be used in trial, even though it was straight off of all of their videos. But anyway, what we're doing now at American Patriot Relief, we are going after prison reform, BOP reform, and legal reform, as well as trying to chase some of the lawsuits, and also working on reforms here in the state of Texas. There's several bills that I have before the state legislature right now. They've got good support, and if they pass, which is always an if in Texas, we're not as red as people think, but if they pass, this kind of event will never ever happen again in Texas, ever. So we're hoping that'll be the role model for the rest of the nation, for the other red states,
right,
to take those up. But interesting, y'all are talking about about lawsuits, and I've been also working with some of the state reps to try to find a lawyer that will be willing to take on basically a class action for all Texas J6ers because of the extradition issues and everything else that were raised during all of this, the kidnapping, the raids, and all that stuff. And where's that in the United States Constitution?
I thought it was protected in the 4th Amendment. That didn't seem to apply.
It's supposed to, but yeah, it's as we know, the government
unreasonable search and seizure, as I recall.
What?
Unreasonable search and seizure. I think that's the text in the 4th Amendment, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's yep. And it's just antithetical to everything the United States is supposed to be about. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Me and Jaleesa are actually kind of doing some recuperation down on the Texas coast and enjoying the beautiful weather and all that God has provided us with and protected us over the last 4 years.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. God bless you guys, and thank you for God's protection over you. You mentioned the FBI raids and the violation of 4th Amendment rights, and that's a huge component of this. I know Captain Cooney has some visceral experience with that. Captain, we'd love to have you kind of just comment on that aspect of things. Also, Enrique, were you violently raided by an FBI SWAT team? I would assume so, but
yeah, and I'll give Chris the floor right now, but yeah, we'll talk about that. There's a couple of things that I did want to address that Mark mentioned, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, everything, and I just want to caveat off a few things that everybody had talked about. When you talk about enjoining the government, first and foremost, on a class action lawsuit, it's really important that you go individually. You find those attorneys that want to go individually, because you can't enjoin the government in a class action lawsuit under tort law. So we need to make sure that January 6ers are filing. I'm filing in the state of Kansas. I'm filing in Washington, D.C. I've joined with Judicial Watch to sue the federal government to open those cases, because a lot of our cases, I'm sure Enrique's, mine, because confidential, my case is 100% sealed. So I need to unseal that case because of the confidential human source, so that the American public can see every bit of debauchery that went on within the FBI and the federal government in entrapping people and inciting violence, dissidents during J6. So that's going to be very important. But also, like Enrique had said previously, all of us J6ers have been through a lot, but our families really suffered. On February 11th, when the FBI raided my house, my wife was pregnant, not me, right? My wife lost our child. Yes, I lost a child, but my wife was the one carrying it. So it's important that those other people, the wives, your children, your family members that might have been present that day, also enjoin on these lawsuits in the various states or districts across the country, and sue the federal government as well, because the government is just as liable for what they did to them, and not just us as individual J6ers. But I also want to, go something off of what Mark said. Mark's doing some amazing things with his group and in the state of Texas. But I want to encourage everybody, right? And I say this lightly, but, January 6th has been political gold for the left, because it's allowed them to create a really deep division within the United States, right, and target us individually as essentially a calling card to fundamentally change the landscape of America, right? And to try to move it left. But it's also political gold for each one of us who are actively engaged in our states at the local, the state, and the federal level, to put the right people in positions in leadership roles within our government all across the spectrum, to make sure that this isn't something that happens again. Just not just J6ers, but just period. That the federal government, that we curb that, we literally try to curb that corruption by putting the right people in place.
Right. And on that point, Captain Cooney, I want to show you guys in the audience this new information here in the last day or so. Free State Will is a J6er. We've had him on the panel before at wearej6.com. And he, and also Derek, who's a part of our steering committee at WeAreJ6, have been reporting on Kash Patel's new head of the FBI in the Washington field office is Steve Jensen. Have you guys heard this? Have you seen this? This seems completely outrageous to me.
So, John, I pushed it out a little while ago, but there's conflicting stories on this. I'm trying to get a bearing on what's actually true. I retracted my retweet from Will, but now I'm getting information that it is true. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. But if this is true, like I said, there's not many hills that I like dying on, but J6 is one. For sure. Promoting Jensen as head of the FBI WO would be. I'm a patient person, right? And I know things take time. And as a business owner, I really do understand that things do take time. But when you take an action, right, it's not about patience. When you take an action and hire somebody like this that has said these horrid things about us, J6ers, this isn't, I'm not going to be patient with it. I'm gonna speak out about it, because it is about holding our elected officials accountable, and that includes the nominations and these people that hold these positions accountable. And to touch on Mark's point on uh, these lawsuits, one thing that I'm very, very curious of is how the Department of Justice is going to respond to these lawsuits. Now, I've been very critical on Pam Bondi specifically because there's still some J6ers that aren't pardoned, right? There's still some J6ers that their sentences are commuted.
Including Stuart Rhodes. We had him on last week.
Including Stuart Rhodes. And then specifically in my case, we have Joe Biggs, the two-time Purple Heart recipient, served his country honorably. We also have Zach Rell, that also served his country honorably. Dominic Pizzola, same thing. Ethan Nordine, that also got hemmed up in this whole thing. So they put in a motion to dismiss the case, and the DOJ kept the architect of these prosecutions, which her name's Jocelyn Ballantyne, and she was added on a day before the response was due from the Department of Justice. And her response is that these prosecutions were just, they were handled correctly, and nothing, absolutely nothing about them was wrong. So we're already seeing, I don't know if Pam Bondi had a say in this. It probably was Jocelyn Ballantyne, but at the end of the day, it does fall on Pam Bondi. And while I am very loyal, 100% loyal to the president, I will be critical of his appointments if they don't keep the promises that they made before confirmation and during their confirmation hearings. And J6 is a hill that I'm willing to die on. So if the DOJ remotely fights these lawsuits, I will go on the offense with anything I have. All I have is I think 33,000 followers on Twitter, which is really nothing. But I will go on the offense against these appointees if they decide that what was done to us and our families was just. I will be speaking out, and in the case of if they say that everything they did is correct, then I will be protesting outside of Twitter, outside of my X account, these issues, because this, again, to me and to many others, is the most pressing concern that we have in this country.
We don't have a lot of time. Really don't. Midterms is coming up. You know, the whole landscape of the federal government can change very quickly, because I think right now, you know, President Trump over the next 4 years of his presidency doesn't want this to have to be the overarching issue that consumes his presidency, lawsuits against the United States, because it doesn't allow him to effectively govern the country if this becomes the narrative that gets established. So I think that they really will want to settle. They don't want to have this go in court because it'll be messy. It'll be very public. But we don't have a lot of time, because if the political landscape inside the House and the Senate changes, you know, when we talk about midterms, this can create some serious issues. So we really need to get the ball moving on this as well.
Absolutely. Time is very urgent. And We Are J6 is a collective of all of these folks coming together, because it allows us, we are so much stronger together, force multiplying, right? So we need to force multiply our efforts to criticize administration figures when they merit that criticism. We need to come together and amplify each other. You know, Enrique, we will support your protests and free speech rights to bring this to the attention of the American public. That's what we're all here for. So please register at wearej6.com and continue to encourage other people to do that, because it's absolutely crucial to what's going on here that we expand the movement and the strength of the force multiplication in our efforts to continue free speech and pursue, you know, investigations and justice. And it's got to be not just about restitution and victim recovery, which it is, but with that is government accountability. So we need congressional hearings. We need a lot of various forms of investigation.
Accountability,
certainly congressional hearings. Yeah, go ahead.
Accountability is incredibly important, as well as putting up guardrails. And these guardrails have to be built, and they have to come from a state level. They can't come from a federal level. All of these red states, Texas and Florida, need to lead the way, but creating these rules so that the federal government has no legal authority inside the state, which is what is supposed to be intended. If you go back to the Federalist Papers, read that, that's very clear what the founding fathers intended. Is the federal government they're basically impotent, other than a very three things: protect from invasion, negotiate international rule, and make sure all the other states play nice with each other, and that's it.
And Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch spoke quite recently to Kash Patel taking over the FBI as the director and Dan Bongino, and said, can they reform the FBI? Is it possible to be reformed? And of course, he's begging the question there that I think the FBI should be abolished, or certainly in its present form, as an armed enforcement agency of the federal government to round up and target state citizens who should be accountable to their state governments in that direct respect, in that federalist sense. I totally agree with you, Mark.
Yep, and that's what I'm fighting for here in Texas. That's several bills are before the legislature, both House and Senate. Current landscape in Texas, I'm not sure they're going to pass this year, but we'll keep fighting for them and get them passed. But it should neuter the federal government here in the state of Texas.
Yeah,
John?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Enrique.
No, I just wanted to say something really quick. Like Chris said, we have a very, very limited amount of time.
Yes.
We have 2 years till probably Congress gets worse, and I don't know how it would get worse than what it already is. But and we only have about 3.5 years of President Trump. Finding good attorneys is very hard. I've been attorney shopping. I started attorney shopping for this lawsuit on probably the first 2 hours of my release from prison. And luckily we found the right ones. But I'd encourage all J6ers and their families and anybody affected by J6 to start working on putting these lawsuits and filing these complaints with the DOJ as soon as possible. Some of these things do take time, but we need to be very proactive. And again, I encourage all J6ers and anybody that's affected by this to take action. Stop posting about it on X and take action. Find the attorneys and let's go.
Dr. Gold? Oh,
yes. I would never want to come into conflict with Enrique, that is for sure. But you have to, I just want to, everyone is in charge of themselves. I've been very sensitive because I've been reminded of this, that no one here is over you. Everyone decides for themselves. Everyone makes a decision that's best for them. So I have to say that. There's a lot of people, though, especially they're dropping in the chats, and it comes every week. How do I find an attorney? How do I do this? And how do I fund it? And all of that. I think realistically, as an attorney myself, the vast majority of people will want to get behind like a particular group. I just think that's just the way it is. It's very hard to bring lawsuits. And in addition, I've been thinking about this obviously for years. And then when Trump won, we knew he was going to win, but still, it's very difficult to find an attorney who's completely mission aligned, right? Who's not just doing it for the paycheck, who understands the bigger picture. So, and then, that's not going to bankrupt you, et cetera. So we're really trying to take all of that off people's plate as much as possible and just give you a recommendation. And then you throw that into the mix and you decide what's best for you. Over the last month, I've been educated more that it really is almost certainly going to look like multiple individual lawsuits. But I think that those lawsuits are likely to be handled by a core group of attorneys who are mission aligned. And I did make a recommendation 2-3 weeks ago, the Tickton McCloskey group. And I am a big fan of Peter Tickton, and I think it's all going to fall out nicely in that direction. But I'm just asking people to just give me grace of another week, because there are some wrinkles that I just want to solve for people, because most people don't really want to spend their life doing this. That's one. Another thing, because there's different people on each week, we can't even overstate. Well, before I get to that, our goal is not just the restitution. It is, as Enrique started with, it is doing what we can to fix the system. For me personally, that means judges need to sit for impeachment hearings. I can tell you for sure, you know, instinctively, and I know for certain that judges were wildly violated their judicial standards. And I can't say what Congress would do, but we need to have those impeachment hearings. That's one outside the financial lane goal that should come, congressional hearings. I'm just reminding people that we are all on the same page. We don't have just one goal of, you know, financially helping the people who are really hurting. That's one goal. There's more than one goal. And lastly, everyone as an individual needs to consider and think about that video that we want to put up. We're showing one at the end of each week. Take a look at it. But this is the way to change how people think of things. I often think back during COVID, if people just had access to like this kind of information, it wasn't so suppressed, like they would have made different decisions during the COVID debacle, right? We're going to put these 5-minute videos in front of everybody. So just take a look at that. It's also one of the things we're going to work with in this future legal settlement is a permanent archive of these videos, right? A permanent archive of these. People should always be able to look and see what the federal government did to its own citizens.
Yes. A national
So
archive.
So that's something that very hands-on that you can do and participate in, and your voice be heard and help the nation. Thank you.
And doctor, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I guess my point is to take action on those things. Like you said that you're trying to collectively find a group of attorneys, and that's basically what I'm advocating for
Put in the work.
to put in the work and actually reach out to Dr. Gold and reach out to people that are actively. I know it's not easy for a lot of people to do this, and attorneys are very, very difficult to work with. Over the course of the past 2 months, I think we've interviewed about 15 different attorneys, and we only found one that we actually liked, which is a current attorney that we have for this case. But I encourage J6ers to start, you know, reaching out to Dr. Gold and reaching out to these other attorneys as a collective, because we need to take action, and we need to take action soon.
Yes. That is definitely the mission here at wearej6.com. We will not stop. So every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern, the live streams will continue. We're going to continue to platform warriors, patriots who are getting the work done, rolling up their sleeves, like Enrique and like Mark and Jaleese Middleton of American Patriot Relief. We'll have updates to wearej6.com coming very soon, including an alliance page to help connect and support various groups, efforts, nonprofits, etc. And of course, to platform and showcase all the J6ers, your persecution testimonial videos. We have persecution profile cards, which are visual representations of you and what's happened to you. It's really impactful stuff. We're excited about it. As you're listening and as you're sharing and encouraging others to join the movement here, register at wearej6.com. You can always email us directly, info@wearej6.com. Let us know if you'd like to come on a live stream and share your story. And especially what we would love for every single 1,500 plus J6ers, we want all of you to join the movement here, share your story, support each other, and make those videos and cards. Just register. We send you the instructions for that, and we'll continue to send reminders. You can always email us if you're not seeing it. Make sure you save info@wearej6.com into your contacts so you get our emails.
John, one thing I forgot to say, which you reminded me, because can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was in the chat. Everyone we've spoken with who has been personally and directly affected by J6 believes that the harms came really from the indictments, because a lot of Americans or a lot of people think, oh, prison, that's worth some compensation, or isolation, that's worth compensation. Of course, those things are worth isolation. But part of our mission is to teach the public that the harms that came just from being indicted were massive. People lost their businesses, people lost their marriages, they lost their homes, they lost their money. So that is something that also can come out during your videos, which is what happened to you just by being indicted. It's like if somebody got arrested on falsely arrested on a sex offense charge. And then for the next 5 years, people keep saying that person's a sex offender. And they weren't. They were just like mischarged, for example. That is a piece that the American people absolutely does not understand. Those FBI arrests and just being indicted. And I'm saying that specifically because people have asked that week after week. We understand that.
And they also can miss the fact that, unlike the example you just mentioned, the theoretical someone was mistakenly charged as a sex offender and then that ruined their reputation because they were innocent and it was a mistake. But I think it's very interesting and very important to understand and to teach the public this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a well-meaning bureaucrat who got it wrong. This was a incredibly dark, corrupt machine that has been in progress for years and decades, that is dedicated to the destruction of innocent Americans. And that destruction has occurred. We have the living proof of it. So we need to acknowledge that and address that and bring that to light. Dr. Gold, your point there about the impact just of the indictment and the destruction of a person's life, character, and everything they have, everything that makes them who they are. It's actually captured so well in this next persecution testimonial video. So I'm going to play this for all of you guys and then get your reaction.
The events following January.
And this is Kenneth Rada. It broke me. Video reaction.
The events following January 6th destroyed me. I was charged with 4 felonies. I was a school teacher. I did not have the financial resources to take my case to court. Married for over 30 years. My marriage is gone. And it's broken me. Hello, my name's Kenneth Rada. I'm from Melbourne, Florida. I attended the January 6th rally to politically protest peacefully, exercising my First Amendment right that I believed the action that was going to be taken that day was done so unfairly and unjustly. I had no intent to be violent or commit any vandalism. In fact, I rebuked several people who raised their voice at Capitol Police officers. Additionally, I assisted 2 Capitol Police officers who had succumbed to the overwhelming numbers of people that were there in protest. They weren't attacking police officers, but the police officers one had fallen on the ground. I assisted him to his feet and moved him to a safe location. Another had cracked the door open to get out and join the police officers that were in line defending the door against the people in protest. And he was succumb essentially to all the people there. I helped him to a corner of safety, and he was able to, it looked like he was hyperventilating, and he was able to recover and get back into the Capitol doors safely. I was charged with 4 felonies in addition to 4 misdemeanors. I certainly felt coerced into a guilty plea based on the fact I was a school teacher. I did not have the financial resources to battle or take my case to court, and I felt compelled to take the misdemeanor plea deal. I was charged with 2 months home confinement, 3 years probation, 60 hours of community service, and $500 in restitution for a Class B misdemeanor. Other than my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I lost 2 of the most precious things to me in my life following the events of my arrest on January 6th. Grandfather, father, husband, married for over 30 years. Our marriage is gone. and it's broken me. Prior to that, I was a football coach and a teacher. I felt that the good Lord gave me the ability or the desire, placed me here to be a teacher and a coach. That was stripped away from me as well as my reputation. Parents, colleagues, players looked at me differently, obviously. Got letters of death threats in the mail. Character assassinations in the press. Impossibility to find good work just by Googling my name. The first things that will pop up were January 6th and me. I did not lose my teaching credential, but I couldn't get a job teaching in a public school setting because I was on probation. And my faith in God is the only thing that's got me through. The events following January 6th destroyed me, crushed me, took my reputation and my character, hence my marriage. And although I do see light at the end of the tunnel, I don't know if you can place a price on a man's character, on a man's reputation, on a man's life. I gave my life to my marriage. I'm Kenneth Rita. I'm a J6 defendant. I am one of thousands of people that have been negatively impacted by our weaponized government. We are your American brothers and sisters, and we are hurting, and we need your help. Please help us regain restorative justice.
The American people need to see these stories of political persecution. Please share them widely and join us at wearej6.com to help deliver restorative justice through victim recovery and government accountability.
Yeah, it's wild. And there's many people like Kenneth. I'm not going to name any names, but I've had so many people reach out to me via DM and have these feelings and this sense of loss. You grow up thinking, and you were taught that you live in the freest country in the world, and it's a lie. It's a lie. What they did to us wasn't something that they concocted just for J6. They've been doing this for a long time. This isn't new to them. The way that they methodically brought people down at pre-trial, trial, forced them to turn state in some cases, wasn't something new to the American system. And this needs to stop, because I don't want to hear that we live in the freest country in the world. Freest how? If we're getting our own citizens and putting them in concrete coffins for decades. And for what? For having an opinion? I'm beyond anger. I don't show it much, but anger is not a word that defines what I feel. you know, um, I think some of you guys are muted, but we need to take action because we're going to lose it in 3.5 years if we don't take action. And I encourage anybody that's watching this, beyond what we've talked about now, I encourage them to get off the couch, get off the phone and like start working towards a better America, because what we saw for 4 years was tyranny. What we saw for 4 years was we were hostages. What they mocked the president when they called us hostages, but that's what we were. We were hostages to a system because of our opinions didn't match with that of the administration. My family came and left Cuba to come to this country for what? To experience the same thing that they experienced over there. It's like my grandfather's nightmare. I never thought that I'd see my grandfather again. He's a person who raised me. He's a person that instilled just showed me how to be a man. So I feel for Kenneth, and if Kenneth needs, he could reach out to me. If any other J6er needs, they could reach out to me. But I have that anger that sometimes I have to suppress. John, you're muted.
Thank you. It's a righteous anger, Enrique. It's a biological and spiritual response to what's happening. So I believe that God has made us to have that reaction in order to inform us that something is wrong, something is unjust. And you were put in a concrete coffin, not so much because of your opinion, but because you dared to defy the government, the powers that be. I always find it incredible that at my sentencing, my judge specifically articulated, he explained in no uncertain terms that he was incensed that I was criticizing the DC court system as corrupt and unfair. Of course, I wasn't pulling this out of my butt. I recognized 92+% voting against Donald Trump in several elections. So the math was pretty strongly in my favor, but it doesn't matter. I'm allowed to say whatever I want. That's my right as an American. I'm allowed to be wrong. I'm allowed to criticize the government, even if they're doing a great job. But he made it clear he was going to crush me because I was raising my voice and a lot of people were listening. And I was effectively criticizing the government for that period. And he was furious. So he put me in prison, and I was put into isolation after that to completely silence my voice. But that's because it's not just an opinion we have, but that we refuse to conform to the approved opinions of a government that has become very fascist. As Dr. Gold notes in her upcoming book, Selective Persecution, the legalization of American fascism. These mechanisms are intrinsic to the system that we supposedly laud as the freest country in the world, which you so aptly criticized, Enrique, and I think that's very important to note.
I just, I'm actually glad you just mentioned my book, because this book is coming out next month. It's called Selective Persecution, the Legalization of American Fascism. It has taken 2.5 years to write. There's 650 references in there. It's really it's to document and be a historical record for a lot of what we all went through. So I think there's about 20 chapters. There's a whole chapter on the 1512C2, a whole chapter about the day of the arrest, a whole chapter about the SWAT team arrest, a whole chapter about, corrupt judges. And then in my particular case, they tried to pull my professional licenses, my medical license, my law license. Congress came after me, a whole bunch of stuff. But, I want to make sure that every J6er who wants to get a copy will get a copy. I will work towards that. If you all, send us a message, give it's about a month till it comes out. But it's your story too, right? And I wanted that record out there, because this is a fake version of of J6, and we need to turn it around for Americans as to what J6 actually was. So the book like this, these videos, unbelievably important in changing people's perception of us and the reaction to us, and then eventually in negotiations with us.
Yeah. So to Enrique's continual point that we need to get off the couch and take action, which we do, there are many ways in which we can do that, of course. And we hope that you'll continue to be really energetic and vigilant in advocating for this movement, sharing wearej6.com far and wide, retweeting these live streams, joining and helping us to grow the voice and grow the message and grow the movement to pursue these things, whether it's Mark and Jalise Middleton fighting the battle in their state of Texas at the legislature there, or if it's Enrique bringing key lawsuits against the DOJ and so forth. And then, of course, we do all want to see a successful, coordinated settlement situation to address the victim recovery needs. But along with that, we need the government accountability as well. And it all needs to be happening at the same time. They're all interwoven. So it's really critical what we're doing here at wearej6.com. And it's really critical for every single one of you to realize we can't do it without you. You are us, we are you. That's why it's called We Are J6. It's all about you guys. And we need every one of you, every one of you. So please continue in your own way to do your own part, and also reach out to other J6ers, because as you all know and understand, it's lonely, it's exhausting, it's depressing, it's a very dark battle. But light is coming, and we can bring light to each other. And that's why we're here. That's what we're committed to. These videos particularly and the other efforts are going to be key, like Dr. Gold was saying. So we're going to continue to just put in the work week after week. Please register at wearej6.com, make your video, and help to share your story and join this effort. You guys have been so generous with your time. Please, anyone that has any thoughts, please jump in and just give us your summary of kind of where we are right now. We're good. Captain Cooney?
No, I'm good right now, John.
Okay. Absolutely. I think we lost Mark at some point, but Mark, thank you so much to you and Jalise. Enrique, thank you really so much for being here. Love your fight. Please stay connected directly with me on any ways that we can help you. And let's continue to we'll get Joe on as well, and continue this fight and continue to, build and coordinate and march as much as we can in lockstep, because our enemy is very coordinated, right? The enemies we fight, they tend to do a better job than we do on communication and coordination. So I think we owe it to ourselves to consider that and to be wise, and to try to grow in that way. So
I do want to say one thing, and a lot of us actually got out easy. There's 4 people that lost their lives that day.
Right.
Ashley Babbitt lost her life that day to a murderous officer. So to me, this has never been about money or getting money back for my 3 years. It is about accountability, because people lost their lives that day.
That's right.
And Roseanne Boylan lost her life that day. So I think us J6ers that did get locked away, it doesn't matter if you just got probation, or it doesn't matter if you got a 22-year sentence, and it doesn't matter if you served 3 years or 4 years, you shouldn't have served a day.
That's right.
So to me, it's about accountability and holding those in office responsible. If I don't get $1 out of this, and all I get is accountability, I will live the rest of my life with a smile on my face. My life and the life of others were given back to us by President Trump.
Amen.
And through God, we were able to be resilient through faith, you know.
Amen.
So, and through our families, we gathered the strength that we needed and the support that we needed, and through people like you guys that We Are J6, and through people that are watching this stream, we're thankful to you guys, because we're here because you fought so hard for the 47th president of the United States. Because without him, we'd still be in there. We'd still have our faith, but now we have our voice back. And you know, jokingly, some of the J6ers call me the Baltimore bench warmer, right? Because since I wasn't there,
Right.
but
That's
and
funny.
and I know that a big focus, you know, was on me for some reason. I'm a big voice in this thing, even if I wasn't technically a J6er. And I'm going to use that voice to amplify all other J6ers. So the J6ers that are watching this, shoot me a DM if you guys need amplification on any of your posts, or if you need just advice, or if you just need someone to talk to. I'm here for you guys. Thank you. I love you all. Although I don't agree with a lot of some of you, but I do love you, and I made a promise to myself that I would never, no matter what, would ever post anything negatively about a J6er, because they have been through enough.
Amen.
So I'd like to thank you guys for having me on. Chris, I kept up with your case a lot while we were in. God bless you, brother. And really, really, I appreciate you guys here at We Are J6.
Thank you so much, Enrique. That's really well said. And you touched on a great point. A huge part of our mission, like we said, is to build bridges and to unify the community of J6 and to support each other, because we need the support. And there's still a lot of people hurting, and it's a tough battle and a dark battle, but we are here together. And so we continue to champion that message and just really encourage all of you guys to join together and support love, unity, in that American spirit. And there are, of course, disagreements, and there are divisions and distractions. But a part of our mission is to rise above that at wearej6.com. And so we're open to all, and we just invite you to join the effort and to continue to stay focused on what is true and good, and the most important thing, and that is our liberty, as Enrique so nicely put it. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and your courage more than anything else. And please register and share wearej6.com. And please join us again next Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern for the live stream. We'll see you then. God bless you all, and may God bless the United States of America.